All right, everybody. Welcome. This is our brand new show. It's really centered around sports, everybody. It's called the Game On Sports Talk Show on Real Talk 100 Radio, but we like to mix it up a little bit. We like to mix it up and talk politics sometimes. We like to talk community sometimes because we're all about the community, and we want what's best for our communities and our surrounding communities. We want what's best for Houston, Texas, and its greater surrounding areas. So today, we have a special guest in the building. But before we get to him, before we get to our special guest, I want to hear from my co-host right quick. Co-host, what's happening, man?
Man, what a beautiful day, huh? Houston, how we doing? We are in the wake of the Super Bowl. So before we go any further, I want to put out two questions, Malcolm. First question is, what was your favorite moment of the Super Bowl? Question number two, what was your favorite commercial? All right. But we got to take care of some serious business. Over here on the side, the mad genius on the controls. Y'all say what's up to Luis De La Paz.
How's it going, y'all?
Our new engineer. And I don't know. You ready to turn it up? Let's get after it.
I'm ready to turn it up, man. I'll never get tired of watching football, talking about football. Most of the panel here doesn't know this. Arthur does. Our listening audience don't know, but I will watch competitive sports from the time they're hitting the pee-wee ball all the way up until they make it to the major leagues or NFL or the NBA. That's what kind of fan I am. So I never get tired of talking about sports.
Me
So
neither.
to his question, my favorite part of the Super Bowl, the whole game. I'm an odd sports watcher. First of all, I'm a gambler, so I never really just go with one team. So this game, I'm just rooting for a competitive game. So I'm glad it was competitive for most of the game. I loved it. I don't like blowouts. I can't stand them. So I was glad it was competitive. The best part of the game to me was when the punt went bad and the momentum changed. That was the best part for me. I was like, they had
knife
him
in the back, right?
They had him by the whatever you want. I'm trying to censor myself, but you know what they had him by. San Francisco had them right where they wanted them. All they had to do was punch it in and game over. And that the guy was not paying attention to where the ball was being placed by the punter, hit him on his leg, and the other guy couldn't handle it. The actual returner couldn't handle it. As soon as that happened in the game and KC hopped on the ball, I was like, oh man, it's over with. I wasn't worried because I had both teams in points. I'll explain later if y'all want to know how I gamble. I will take, if I think it's going to be a competitive game I'll take both teams. And they call it a teaser in Las Vegas.
Mhm.
You can tease it. The spread was 2.5 at the beginning of the game for KC. KC was the underdog, if you can believe that. So I teased the bet. So I no longer had 2.5 in KC. I now stretched it to 8.5 in KC. 2.5 minus 6, which is the teaser bet. 2.5 minus 6. So I then had Frisco and 4 also. So I didn't care. I just wanted a field goal game.
Yeah, you were going to make some money either way.
Yeah, I would have made money either way. So they're coming back. They're coming back. The final score, it's 4th and whatever on the goal line, whatever for KC. I'm just going, I don't care at this point. The game's over. But anyway.
Well, you mentioned, go ahead.
To answer your question, that was my favorite part of the game because momentum switched. Because I'm seeing KC is not covering my points. So I'm going, oh, man. So when they got the ball back, I'm like, yes, it's on now. It's on like Donkey Kong. Y'all remember Donkey Kong, right?
Absolutely.
So what was your second question?
Favorite commercial. Now, I know you're not a commercial guy, but we're putting it out for everybody in the crowd. Put it, you guys remember, you go to any one of our mediums, you can post, you can call in, you can leave us a message, whether it's Twitter or X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, now on LinkedIn. And am I missing one?
I think you got them all. Instagram, okay. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and I'll have to share it to LinkedIn. I'm not actually live on LinkedIn. I share it to there.
Right.
But yes.
But we're monitoring so we can see it.
Sir?
So we're monitoring so we can see it.
Yes, we're monitoring so we can see it. Please share the video all over the world, especially if you reside in Harris County, if you have family or friends or relatives that reside in Harris County. Please share the video because our next guest is going to be a representative of Harris County.
All right, I'll get to mine. Before I do that, though, if you don't mind, I'd like to introduce our guest and get his take on his greatest moment. Because you mentioned mine, and I'll just put that bug in your ear. Okay. But it wasn't the fumble itself. We'll get to that in a minute. We're going to get back to our dark side of the NFL episode.
Okay.
But real quick, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Paul Day. He is a former Houston police officer. He is a former Harris County Sheriff's deputy. He is a veteran of military service, 45 years law enforcement. So, Paul, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. So you want me to answer the question?
I do, yeah.
What's interesting, Malcolm, you brought up the same incident that I thought was the deciding factor of the game. And I know you're going to learn by listening to me that I'm the best candidate for sheriff, but I've also been a long life athlete. I played football, basketball, baseball, track and field, even volleyball. When I
thought I saw it in you.
I have a few muscles here.
Yeah.
But here's what I want. I'm watching the game, and I have to confess, I didn't want Kansas City to repeat, but I wanted a good game. And Patrick Mahomes showed why he's the man he is. But when that guy kicked the ball accidentally, fundamentals from growing up, first thing they teach you is slide in and get on the ground and pull it.
And pull it.
Pull the fumble in. And one of the guy from San Francisco
tried to pick it up.
Tried to pick it up. He booted it, and then the Kansas City guy got the ball.
Yes,
and one play later, it turned the whole game around. So that was my and I also have a son that's a Hall of Fame coach in St. Louis, a high school Hall of Fame coach. 2 other kids grandsons that coach football. So I'm a connoisseur of football, and I really enjoyed the game.
Malcolm,
shout out to your son right quick.
Hey, well, he's Paul III.
Paul III.
Yeah, and then I got Joey and Tanner up there. I don't know if they're watching because we just sent the thing out, but
okay.
Well, they better be watching. Hey, listen. Speaking of your son, some of the guys you like to watch play football went through his schooling and learning.
Yes,
professional football players was under his son.
That's true. Yeah,
he touched on it.
I was going to say, you want to do a couple name drops?
Yeah. Tyron Williams is playing. I guess he's an All-Pro this year. He played for my son on 2 state championship teams, and the one game. I'm a praying man. Also, it was back and forth in the first championship that they won. And I'm so proud of my son. He takes my advice sometimes. I told him sometimes you got to go for it on 4th down. He's at the 50-yard line, fans, and it's like 4th and 6. And he decides to go for it, and then Tyron runs for a 56-yard touchdown. And that turned the game around, just like Patrick Mahomes did.
Just like Patrick Mahomes.
Well, there's a reason he's in the NFL for sure, and that proves it. Okay, so before we get started, guys, listen, I hope you saw the promo. What we're about to get into now is some really hardcore stuff, especially if you live in Harris County. right? If you saw the promo, we talked a lot about what's going on in the jail. Houston, we have a problem. This man here has told us he has an answer to that problem. So what we're going to do, we're going to open the floor to him. We're going to ask questions. We're going to ask you guys to ask questions, whether you're asking via social media, whether you call in. We have a call-in number. Malcolm, what is our call-in number?
Our call-in number, folks, is 832-560-2885. And if you look right under your nose right there, it's scrolling at the bottom of the screen, 832-560-2885. We'd love to hear your voices. If you have any concerns, please call in. If you live in Harris County, please call in. If you live in Harris County and you're shy, you don't want to call in, we have a comment thread here. And our trusted co-host here, our trusted IT guy, I like to call him, he'll let us know that you've commented and we'll read your comment right here. But we'd love to hear your voices. If you don't live in Harris County, tag your family and friends that live in Harris County, Texas. This guy is here for you. He's here to make sure our communities are safe. He's also here to make sure if and when your relatives or your friends go to jail, God forbid they do, but if they do, he wants to make sure they come out alive and that they're safe while they're inside.
That's it. So Paul, we were gonna start this off with kind of educating us a little bit, but I did some research.
Okay.
Started looking around. Guys, the people that are in the primary to go up against Ed Gonzalez, okay, we want someone who's qualified, who knows the job. So I did some research. Paul, you're the only person that has any actual real law enforcement on the street, both in the city and in the county. We don't have a city jail anymore. Everything's done in the county. I think the closest guy to you is a former councilman, and that was like 20-something years ago.
Yes.
So he's not relevant as far as his experience, in my opinion. So let's delve right in. The jail. Jail's a big problem. Let's start there. And the reason I want to start there is because you mentioned something to Malcolm and I that I want to reiterate over and over because it's unheard of nowadays. Is Paul was telling us that when he gets elected sheriff, he wants him and his command staff to be able to have a forum like this, open the floor to the entire county, talk about what's going right, talk about what's going wrong, what can we do to fix this. That's full transparency. Malcolm, have you ever heard any more transparent than that?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, so Paul, let's talk about the jail. Let's start there. First of all, I know from my opinion, and it's biased because I have friends that work down there, it's a manpower issue. It's the biggest problem. So please.
That is the biggest problem. That's why we have a lot of people getting injured by fights and even the detention officers and some deputies get injured because we don't have enough manpower to back them up. But I would like to, just the transparency, I'm glad you brought that up. There's been a number of deaths in the jail, and I want everybody to know that some deaths can't be, a lot of people die because they just die, and in your general community, say if you combine the people in our society and people in jail, you probably have the same amount of deaths. They come in there, they're sick, they got drug problems, and that I don't like that to happen. But when it does happen, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna change. We're gonna be transparent. We're gonna immediately figure out what caused their death. We're gonna try to treat them so they don't have to die. But then we and our command staff are gonna go to the family of the deceased person and talk to them straight up and tell them what happened. Tell them we're sorry and maybe say a prayer with them. And so that's one of the things we're gonna do.
So we're talking about going back to being human beings.
Yes.
Right? And I don't see or hear that going on right now. I'm gonna be honest. Look, I have no qualm with Ed Gonzalez, but from what I understand, that place is a complete joke.
Yeah, well, it's out of control because they don't have enough manpower. And what I want to do to fix the manpower is and initially we're going to have to use overtime with the deputies on the streets to come in and work overtime. Mm-hmm. And the detention center officers are already working too much overtime. So we have to beef up the manpower. And that's the main reason we keep failing the Texas Commission on State Jails when they do tests because we don't have enough manpower. And I was told today we have a capacity for 9,700, but every time we fail the test, which is 4 times in a row, we lose 150 beds. So now we're down to 8,000 beds, and we need the beds to hold the prisoners.
That's a great question. I wanted to ask you about that because, again, doing some research, this failing has, if I'm not mistaken, again, I'm not putting fingers at anyone, but this failing their standards. This is what the state says. The state comes in with a regulation that says the jail has to have all of these different criteria to be safe, hygienic,
Mhm.
and in a place where if you've got to, be incarcerated, other than the fact that you can't go home, you should be able to sustain a life, come in or out, unless, life happens, right? So looking at it, this is not a first or second or third time. This is a
It's
habitual
continuous,
problem
yes.
at this point.
And every month we lose 100, or not every month, I think it's every 3 months they come back, and then we lose another 150. And we're supposed to have a ratio of 48 prisoners to one guard, and it's not even close to that now. I think they're 600 short right now, so that the detention center officers are having to work a lot of overtime, which is wearing them out.
Is it because people just don't want to work, or is it because people don't like the job and they quit? Why is it like that?
But yeah, the morale's gone real bad. I was told with a guy that I know works there, that I have confidence in, that some of the detention officers just don't come back to work. They don't even, they just come to work one day and they never see them again. They don't even go through the process of.
I thought that was just a contractor's problem. I've owned a couple businesses where I had to use contract work, and they will come to work for a week and get enough to go and, I don't know, get drunk, whatever they're gonna go
Yes.
do, and I never see them again. So I thought that was just a problem for contractors.
Well, now but it's because of the morale. These guys are being forced to work too much. It's dangerous.
Okay.
And then the manpower issue is critical. And even if we were able to hire enough people, 600 people would take 4 years to train all of them. So we're not going to get the manpower up unless we work an extensive overtime program, which will be mandated by each person will work a little overtime. That way we can get back to where we can pass the jail standards and it'll be a safe environment. And I'm believing to get back to the deaths. There doesn't need to be 27. I think that we could probably cut that in half just by having more jail staff there to keep an eye on the prisoners.
And the deaths, is it man to man, or is it guard to man? What is it? Natural causes?
Well, most of the deaths are natural causes. That's why I'll go back to the fact that these people coming into the jail, a lot of them are sick to start with,
Okay.
and they're too proud to tell us.
Okay.
And then they just let something happen, and then they just get sick, and then they have a heart attack, or maybe they're on drugs, or they're trying to come off drugs.
Remember during the onset of COVID, there were some deaths, and it made media coverage where I think Channel 2 doing a couple others were talking about the hygienic standard in the Harris County Jail because they weren't able to get good control of the situation. But Paul, I have a question for you. I've got somebody reaching out and offered some amnesty for people who may work for the county or who may be friends of the county or maybe from the planet Pluto, but they're trying to keep their name quiet. And so the question is, training is a problem. Someone I know, wink, wink, was at A&M for 2 weeks and pulled out of school to be put in the jail. And it was himself and 4 others because of staffing issues. No calls, no shows. Where do you put the precedent? I know you talked about, hey, we're going to everybody share the load equal as far as getting overtime to as we play catch up. But as far as the training scenario, are we going to circumvent that training and put unqualified people in that jail, or are we going to have to say, no, let's bring in some blue shirts, let's bring in trained deputies if we have to kind of.
Well, here's the one thing that most people don't know. When you come to the county, you go through a peace officer training through the academy, but you also mandated to have detention center training. So it's unacceptable to bring someone in there without training. That's just how you look at it. So they have to go through the extensive training, but they also have in-service training that you get extensive more training to keep up with. We would critique these deaths and find out if there's any way we could have prevented them. And that goes back to my transparency with the families. The families need to know what we did to try to save their loved one's life. And if we couldn't save it, what the cause of death was. And I, as the sheriff, and me and one of my jail administrators will go and talk to them in person just so we can show that we really care about them.
On that note, I hate to interrupt you, but I know several people who are concerned with what you just said. You have inmates dying, and they feel like the guards or anybody else cares. What do you say to the listening audience to prove to them that you care?
Well, all I can say is that I'm a Christian and I care about everybody's life. And in my career as a police officer, I never took anybody to jail that I didn't treat like I'd want to be treated. And I would, as a Christian, I would share my faith with them and try to get them not to have a recidivism. And I was very successful in getting convictions because they knew that most of them were guilty. Well, all of them were guilty that I arrested. I think I had a 99%. But I care about these prisoners just as well as I care about my detention officers. I want everybody to do the right thing, and I will personally train. When I get to the sheriff's office, I plan on having an in-service training for the whole year with me talking to them. And I used to teach a sensitivity training course for police officers, and I want to teach them that you need to treat these people like human beings.
So I'm hearing the word training. So
Yes.
there again, we're not pulling people out of training. They've got to finish. We'll figure it out amongst trained deputies if we have to get in there and help solve the problem early on.
I'm going to do something nobody's ever done. I'm going to have a training component so that everybody with the sheriff's office will see me within the first year, and then they'll know how I feel about it. I want them to feel the same way.
Okay. Okay, so I'm getting another text, again, another incognito question, and I just want to read this to you. So the department is losing an average of 35 detention officers every month. Young kids work between 4 to 6 months and then they quit. Total attrition average is 70 per month with quitting, retire, and or firing. Before we go any further, address that.
Well, we believe in my campaign staff that just by us becoming sheriff, it's going to change that percentage. And also, I'm promising that we need to raise the salary of detention officers and the police with the Harris County Sheriff. We're one of the lowest paid sheriff's office departments in the whole nation, and we need about a 30% pay raise. And I've done my research. The county commissioners have more than enough money to give us that raise. And so we can just pay them enough money so they want to stay, and then treat them with respect. I believe we can turn around that rate where everybody's quitting.
Okay, so from now on in the show, we're going to fast forward in time. We're past the election. You're now the sheriff.
Yes.
Okay, so sheriff, day one. Walk me through your day one. You're the boss now. It's past the luxury period. Ed Gonzalez has cleared out his office. Day one. What is your agenda?
Well, my agenda. We're going to back up 3 months. I'm going to get elected in November, the first Tuesday in November.
Okay.
I have a transition period from November, all of November and December. In that period of time, I'm going to meet with each county commissioner and the county judge, and then with my administration staff that I'm going to put into office, and I'm going to tell them what we plan on doing so they'll be prepared, because it's going to cost them more money, and I expect to get it. But when we're going to hit the road running. We're going to go into the jail, and we're going to right away implement that overtime program to get away from flunking the jail standards test. And along with that, what we haven't talked about is crime and violence, but most people don't know this. In Harris County, we have over 50 agencies that book people in the Harris County Jail on Class A, B, and felonies, and about 10 to 20% of them are career criminals. So we can take the jail system and have a special unit in there when another agency brings a prisoner in and they charge them with one felony. And if we identify that they've been arrested 4 or 5 times and convicted, then people have probably heard of the 3 strikes and you're out. Mm-hmm. I'm going to work with the district attorney, and we're going to try to get a separate court where I can take from our jail some investigators and take that case and make it not into that one felony, to make it into career criminal. A habitual criminal, and then they'll be put in that one court, and it's a slam dunk, because they're going to be guilty of the crime that they committed, and then you can't hide from that. And then when they get convicted, they get 20 years to life in jail and in prison. So you combine my concern for the jail and the safety. I believe when we hit the road running, we can immediately, with our overtime. And this is why I said I want to talk to the commissioners early, because they got to know that we're going to need more money to pay this overtime.
Yes, sir.
And I've been told they have to pay if we work overtime.
Okay.
And then with that, we'll have immediately, we won't be flunking the jail commission test. And then along with that, we're going to be fighting crime by identifying all the habitual criminals and trying to get them convicted.
Okay. Yes. So you kicked on something real quick, Malcolm, if I may. You said they have to pay overtime. Now,
yes.
You are recently retired. You're
yes,
not
yes.
10, 15,
no.
20 years ago.
No, yeah.
So you've been on the street
yes.
very short order down the
yes.
street right here
yes.
in District 1, right? Because this is Harris County District 1,
yes.
where we are right now. So pay. Well, another thing I'm hearing from an outside source that is remaining to be
yes.
silent is that they are giving comp time away, but the comp time is so far out of control, you're never going to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
in lieu of. Is that a fact? Is that what's going on right now?
Well, yeah, they try to get you to work comp time so they don't have to pay you. But what that does is then you accrue it, and then eventually they're going to take off, and then you're losing the manpower. But I'm even thinking you're putting ideas in my mind during this interview. See, I've left out the fact that my son still works for the Houston Police, and I worked there for years, working overtime. I'll bring up Bob Lanier. He had a 655 plan where when he was the mayor, he had 655 officers on the street all the time on overtime, but he paid for it with federal grants, federal and state grants. So we're believing Donald Trump's going to get elected president. And the minute that happens, and the minute we win, we're going to go talk to him and see if we can make a model project here with getting a lot of federal grants that can probably subsidize our overtime program. And it could go right into county commissioners, and they can pay our deputies for working the overtime.
Wow. All right. Malcolm?
Having a brain fart live on camera right now, but while I'm remembering what I had to say, please, everybody, please, if you live in Harris County, please share this video all over Harris County. We're trying our best to do our part in getting Mr. Paul Day elected for the next sheriff of Harris County. If you live in Harris County, you're worried about public safety, you're worried about your safety, you're worried about your family and friends who are incarcerated, who may be incarcerated. You're worried about their safety. You're worried about their life. You're worried about them coming home you're worried about them coming home. This is the man you need to talk to. You're more than welcome to call in. We have a call-in number. Any concerns, any questions, the call-in number is 832-560-2885. Sometimes I know me personally, and I know I speak for more than just me in this room. I know I speak for more than just the people in this room. I'm speaking to you, the listening audience. It's a shame that we have to be afraid to go to the mall. It's a shame that we have to be afraid to go to church, as we saw in Lakewood the other day. It's a shame that we have to be afraid to go anywhere. Some things need to be changed. I have nothing against, this is a disclaimer, I have nothing against Mr. Gonzalez, but obviously some things need to change. And this man has 45 plus years experience in the sheriff's department. I think he knows a little bit about how to get things changed. So call in with your questions and concerns, everybody, at 832-560-2885. This, in case you're wondering what you're watching, normally scheduled in this time slot every Tuesday night from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock is the Game On Sports Talk Show featuring myself and Arthur down on the end. But tonight, we're discussing politics. We're discussing community love, community support, and we're trying to support Mr. Paul Day. Please go and follow him at Paul Day for Sheriff 2024 on Instagram and Facebook,
Yes,
correct?
Yes.
Go and follow him, Paul Day for Sheriff on Instagram and Facebook. I believe all of his information is on the screen right now. Thanks to Lewis. Thank you, Lewis, man. His website should be there, his email, his phone number, everything is on the screen under your nose right there. Get in contact with him and learn more about this campaign.
Could I just say something? I'm very impressed with Malcolm and Arthur with the questions. I'm impressed that people are calling in. But you know what impresses me the most is the name of your show.
Game On.
Yeah, Game On, because you remember I've been an athlete all my life. I do not like to lose.
No, sir. No, sir.
And I'm challenging this county. The game is on, and I expect you to be on our side. And I'm telling everybody, you can either be with us in the victory or you can watch it from the sidelines. So, and that's a sporting connotation, but the game is on. And what I would like to point out is the other candidates in the Republican primary, they mean well, but if you take the two that are really contenders, Mike Knox, who's a council member that hadn't been a policeman for 29 years, and then Glenn Cowan, Mike Knox has 15 years. Glenn Cowan is a good guy. I'll promote him. He's an ordained minister, but he doesn't have the experience, and he's working with the HPD for 15 years. So take his 15 and Glenn Cowan's 15. They're still 15 years short of what I've done in my career.
Yeah, math is my math. And so, okay, so Paul, we're going to go back now.
Okay.
Hypothetical, day one in office, you're the sheriff. So, and I appreciate. I know there's some people that, for whatever reason, they're asking me to help speak, be their voice. So I have no problem doing that. So keep texting me questions, if that's okay, Paul.
Yes,
but so you're the sheriff.
Yes.
Okay. half of your deputies are retirement eligible. How do you retain them? Because we need somebody to teach and bring these new young bucks in as we get stronger, because we've got to get stronger, and we cannot let. Well, there's a man in the studio right now that has a ton of years who I respect dearly, a very dear friend of mine by the name of Dave Hilburn, who was a sergeant with Harris County, retired as a sergeant. I trust his judgment over anybody's on. You can name the subject.
Yes.
So men like him, you can't lose them.
No, you're right.
Right. We've got to at least keep them short term. Hey, let's get this transition. So, okay, Sheriff, I'm Dave. What are you telling me and the other guys like me who have 20, 30 years experience, who's ready to give it up because all the insanity? How are you going to keep me?
Well, that's interesting, because the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to promote from within the sheriff's office. And I already know from being there, which my opponents don't know, that there's people that I have in my mind. I haven't even spoken with them, that I'm going to elevate to positions of authority. And that alone will keep a lot of the old timers, just knowing that I'm coming in there. I have former Houston Police Department experience, but I working with the county, I'm going to use the people in the county that are very well respected. And then we got to get back to paying benefits again. We have to increase their benefits. So if you're at retirement age, and I'm proud to say I've got 2 retirements now, and I'm doing pretty well with 2 retirements plus my Social Security. And that's very, the county has a good retirement program, but the longer you work, the more money you make. And then if we raise the salary so that they can make even more money, that alone will keep them. And then if we put together county overtime programs where they can make even more money, they don't have to work extra jobs, and they're much happier doing that.
Yes,
because they're covered by the county benefits.
yes.
That makes sense?
Yes, sir. Plenty of sense, sir. We're, in case you're just now tuning in, we're with Paul Day for Sheriff 2024 on Instagram and Facebook. Please go and give him a follow. Please give him a like. And that leads to my next question. How do you get around? I grew up in a traditional black family where it's Democrat, it's Democrat, it's Democrat. And
Great
I'm my
question.
own man.
Great
Yes.
question.
I'm my own man, Mr. Day. So I grew up and I'm like, it's good and bad on each side. So it comes down to me personally, to who I like best.
Yes.
Who sounds the best? Who's got the best policies? I'm a man now. So how do you win over the people who are still stuck on old school? I grew up, my parents, my grandmother, Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. And now you're Republican? Because I know some of them are looking at me like right now, oh, he's a sellout, this, that. How do you win people over to the Republican Party to vote for Paul Day, Harris County Sheriff?
Well, when I was riding patrol, I had with the HPD, I love telling people about God. I'm a born again Christian, and I don't have any qualms with talking to people about my faith. And this friend of mine that backed me up a lot started calling me Apostle Paul, and
Apostle
Paul, because my first name is Paul. Now, when we win this primary, and I'm asking your listeners, I'm impressed that they're all calling in, that you need to go out there and get me through the primary. And you know how I'm going to win over the blacks and the Hispanics?
How?
I'm going to be Apostle Paul. I'm going to go into every church I can get to. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to convince them that their values are more Republican oriented and conservative than what the Democrats have. And I'm going to give a plug for Angel Fierro, who I just was at one of her opening campaign events last night, and we were at a church over in the northeast side, or actually it was off of Wayside in Lawndale. So it was right in the middle of the barrio, and they were all speaking Spanish. They were all praying, and right while I was there, I thought the Lord told me, this is how you're going to win this election. You're going to get out there in the community, and you're going to talk to the people, and they're going to recognize that our values are different than what the Democrat values are.
Okay. That's how you're going to win them over.
Yes.
Apostle Paul, y'all.
So I have a question, Sheriff. Okay. Again, you're Sheriff, but I got to ask this question. True, false, and if it's true, please expand on this. I'm hearing a story that somebody went into the Sally Port of the jail, and apparently you had somebody you were taking to jail who was a little upset, and apparently, I don't know, they said they don't remember if you got down on one knee or not, but you put them hands in the front, and you were praying with them before you took them to jail. Is that true or false?
It's probably, yes, that's true.
Okay, do you remember that situation or one like it?
I had many cases like that.
Would you explain one?
Let me think. Well, I had a guy that I actually arrested for domestic violence. If you were to call me, my voicemail says, "This is Paul Day." At that time, I was Houston police. And then I end up, please call me back. And Jesus loves you, and so do I.
Mhm.
So this is a guy that's been tormenting his wife. He calls me. He was a former member of Lakewood Church, and he says that he started crying when he heard the term. So what I did was I convinced him to come. We arrested him, and he got back with his wife. And about 2 months later, he dropped dead in his park in the front of his house.
Wow.
And his wife calls me crying, saying, "Paul, Emmanuel just died." And I give everybody my card. I still do that when I'm sheriff. So she said, "Well, we don't have a church now. We never went back to church. What are we going to do?" So she fixed up Lawndale Cemetery. She actually was an employee there, and she said, "We need a pastor. You know any pastors?" And I said, "Well, I don't really know anybody I could call." And she said, "Well, would you do the service?" And
Wow.
she asked me to do the service. It was the most rewarding thing ever because I got to go there and I got to witness to all the people. And when I told them that I knew Emmanuel's background, that I think he was getting ready to slide back, and the Lord brought him home at that time, one of his aunts came up and crying and hugged me. She says, "You knew him better than any of us did."
Okay,
And
so
that's just one example.
So let's get this straight, Malcolm. Domestic violence, which is a big hot button, because domestic violence, even if it's, and look, nobody should put hands on anybody that shouldn't.
No.
All right, but sometimes things are made to be worse than they
Yes.
are. But you've got a legitimate case.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You take this man to jail. You talk him into getting in the car. Then you pray with this man.
Yes.
It's going to be all right. You put such an impact on him that his family asked you to do the funeral.
Yes. I'm going to start crying right now.
Any questions? Because I'm kind of like, that. Uh-oh. We have a call.
Welcome to Game On Sports Talk Show. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with tonight?
Hi, yes, I want to stay anonymous.
Okay.
All right.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What if I know who you are?
Hi, yes, I want to stay anonymous.
We won't tell.
Turn your mic
Well,
down.
thank you.
Turn your radio or your listening device. Turn it down just a little bit, please. We got an echo. All right, hi. You're on the air. All right, hi. You're on the air with Game On and Paul Day. Go ahead.
Well, hello, guys. Yes, I just wanted to share. I'm going to go ahead and vote for Mr. Paul Day.
Praise God. Thank you.
And my first question is, what would you do to implement like sensitive training to your officers who go on scene to domestic violence cases?
We're going to stay on domestic violence for a while. Good
Well,
question.
yeah, that's. I would encourage you to watch to Google Dear Mr. Jesus. It's a video of a young lady that when I actually taught sensitivity training when they changed the law in the 90s, and I helped organize a domestic violence unit with the Houston police. I just thought about this recently when I'm campaigning because I haven't been highlighting the real reason I ran for sheriff. So I actually, back in the 80s, my partner and I had a sensitivity training for police officers that we taught in the academy. So I'm going to implement a plan like that for the whole. I think I've already talked about it, but I want to be the people's sheriff, but I also want to be the sheriff deputy sheriff so that they get to know me personally. And I'm going to encourage them. I'm actually going to give them my testimony as a Christian and tell them that I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing I've done throughout my career. Don't be afraid of sharing your faith.
Okay, so will your deputies go to sensitive training then?
But yeah, they're going to have to because I'm the sheriff. This is going to be a mandatory in-service training that they'll get credit for. And I am I'm a physical education. I had a physical education degree when I was younger, when I came out of the military. But then the Lord called me into police work. So I'm a good trainer to start with. But then I also got a Texas Commission on Law Enforcement Education certification to teach when I teach them 8 hours, they'll get 8 hours of in-service training for that year. So it's going to work out for us because sometimes it's hard for them to get their in-service training. But they're going to know that their sheriff wants them to treat people like human beings. And really, my job is to save souls and make disciples. And I want to make all these policemen disciples. If they're disciples, they're going to be acting like Jesus, wouldn't you say?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. I have a second question, if you don't mind.
Oh, that's fine.
I was reading your background, and I see that you were on the SWAT team for Houston.
Yes.
Okay. Were you what would you do on the SWAT team?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because we just had our 50th anniversary for the Houston Police Department this last weekend. And when I was on the SWAT team, I started in 1979. The SWAT team started in 1974. So I came in right at the beginning when we were just putting our training component together. I was in the first SWAT training class that we taught here ourselves with the Houston Police. We used to go other places. And then I became a training coordinator. Well, let me back up. I was on an entry team to start with when you see the guys go in and enter a building when they have to take custody of a prisoner. Then I was a marksman on a long rifle. They call them snipers for about 2 or 3 years. Fortunately, I never had to take anybody's life, but I've seen people's lives taken. So it's not a pretty sight, but we had to take people's lives when they're endangering other people's lives. And then I became a training coordinator, and I was in charge of intelligence for my last 10 years on SWAT. And I'm very proud to say, we got a lot of worry about terrorist attacks now, and we got illegal immigrants, and there's probably terrorist cells in these illegal immigrant camps. Well, I actually trained with the U.S. Army's Delta Force in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and then we set up training missions for them. They came here to Houston, and we became the aggressors, and they came and rescued hostages while we were playing the part of a hostage taker. So I've got a lot of experience from being on the SWAT team, and I was honored at the SWAT banquet that I've got the endorsement of the SWAT alumni president, Sandy Wall, who was in my academy class. But this is the biggest honor I got, was they asked me to say the opening prayer, which really blessed me. Matter of fact, I got another story about that. I don't want to hear. I got a real awesome story about how I was on a SWAT scene where the guy was going to kill himself. And I was used by God. He ran out of the building, and God used me to get him to drop the gun. But I didn't want him to kill himself because he's afraid to kill himself. He wanted us to shoot him, death by cop, because he was afraid Jesus wouldn't forgive him. And that very weekend was the weekend that I had made an appointment to go to Second Baptist Church to learn how to witness to people without offending him. And that's when I surrendered my life to Christ, on that weekend right after that. And I was God used me to save that guy's life.
Wow. Wow.
Well, good.
Well, thank you for the question. That was an awesome question. I don't get to talk about this a lot, and I'm very proud of how God's used me.
Well, we're proud of you, and you've got my vote, sir.
Well, thank you.
Keep up the good work, and I'll share your name with
I was going
to
say, I'm hearing you probably got 100 votes you can get for us. Go on your social media, and I'm impressed that you're even watching this show. And thank you very much for calling.
All right, well, thank you, Paul. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, are you still?
Thank you.
Ma'am, are you still there?
Yes.
Quick question. This is Malcolm of Game On Sports Talk Show. I'm just curious, how did you find the show tonight?
I was just on my YouTube searching, and it popped open, so I clicked on it and started watching you guys.
Hallelujah.
Wow. Well, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. That's excellent.
Oh, yeah. I'll be watching y'all all the time, guys.
Yeah,
good luck.
These guys are the real deal. I can tell you that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, good luck, Mr. Paul Day.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I like to know what's working. I like to know what's working. If it's not working over here, I need to concentrate over there. So that's why I always ask.
Yeah, that's a good question.
You mentioned a little bit about negotiations. That was my next question. I like to bounce off of what everybody else is asking. So to bounce off of what the lady was asking, you already expounded upon the answer already. But one of my favorite movies is The Negotiator, and I want to know if you've ever talked somebody down off the ledge. You mentioned the guy that wanted to kill himself.
Yes.
But have you ever talked somebody down off of a ledge that was gonna shoot up a building, that was gonna, had a bomb strapped to him, anything like that when you were in SWAT? I watch too much TV, so don't pay me any mind.
No, but the thing is that they have a separate negotiating team and the SWAT officers. Normally, we'll get on the scene, set up a perimeter, contain it, and what's usually happened is the original officer has already negotiated a little bit, so we have to take him away and develop a rapport with the barricaded suspect or the hostage taker. But I have when they didn't want us SWAT officers to negotiate, but if you get there early and the guy's got a gun and we see him going around, I had an opportunity, and this is a good. I want to remember the pastor's name. It was a pastor that I went to. I can't remember his name. Maybe I'll come up with it, but he's a famous pastor in the black community, and I'd gone to his church. And he called me on my cell phone and said, "Hey, so and so," and it just happened to be around the corner from my house, so I got there real quick.
Mhm.
So he and I working together. He told the guy that was from his church, "Hey, Paul Day's coming. You can trust him. He's a SWAT officer. Just listen to what he says." So I instructed the Dixon. His name was Richard. Richard Dixon off of Pine Knot. His church is Northwest something or other.
I think I've met him.
Anyways, he was. This is back in the 90s.
Okay.
We had within 10 minutes talked the guy out. He put the gun down and he threatened that he was going to kill his girlfriend, but she got away.
Okay.
And that's one situation. But I've forgotten when I'm giving my dialogue, I actually was trained as a negotiator. Also, they sent some of us to the negotiating class just in case stuff like that happened, so we know how to bring them down. But I always used my faith in God. I just prayed that God would make me calm. When I saved that guy, my heart was going. The guy that I saved from dropping the gun, and I knew his name. That's what confused him. I call him. His name was Russell O'Keefe, and I don't feel bad telling about it because unfortunately I went and witnessed to him, and he surrendered his life to Christ. And about 4 months later, his mother called me, and he killed himself. So he committed suicide, but all on his own. He'd read the Bible. He was in Psalm 60, and his mother wanted to just tell me how much she appreciated the fact that what I did for him. But my point is that I always let the Holy Spirit guide me when I'm dealing with people, and it was always effective. I wasn't calm when I was trying. My heart was going 300 beats a minute, I think.
Mhm.
But what he told me is that he said the reason I put the gun down was because you're so calm.
Right.
And then he told me when I went up there and got we went up, and he said, "You saved my life."
And that's what a lot of my friends. I'm a social media fan. I'm on there all day, every day, and a lot of their complaints is that a lot of the officers don't know how to de-escalate situations. They heighten,
Yes.
they heighten the feelings in someone. If somebody's mad or aggravated, they come and with aggressive, and so it's good to hear that.
Yes.
And hopefully that'll rub off on the police officers, your police force at Harris County. That's what my friends on my Facebook, my Instagram, all over the place, all over. I graduated from Klein Oak High School, so most of my friends are right here in this 20-mile radius between Cypress, Greens Point, Humble, and back around to Woodlands and back around to Klein Oak. All of them, and outside of that, even in other cities, other states, de-escalation is very important. So you're listening right now to Paul Day, everybody. Go and follow Paul Day for Sherriff 2024 on Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to get Luis to put his information up. You can go to his website and find out more about him. You can get his phone number to call his offices. You can get everything right there at the bottom of the screen. I think it's up there now. His website, his email, any questions, any concerns. This show is all about making sure our communities are safe again, making sure our family and friends are safe when they're incarcerated, when and if they're incarcerated. We're going to take a quick commercial break, though, everybody. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back on the Game On Sports Talk Show. And remember, normally slotted during 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock on Real Talk 100 Radio, we're going to be talking sports. We're going to be talking baseball. We're going to be talking basketball. March Madness is right around the corner. The NBA championships are right around the corner. I'm crying too because football is gone until September. I hate preseason. I know it starts in August.
Hey, World Football League.
I can't stand.
We'll have some springtime football.
I haven't gotten into that yet. He's gonna have to tutor me on World League football. But this is a sports talk show. But we're all about the community, and we're all about spreading love to small businesses. So tonight it's about Paul Day for Sherriff 2024 on Instagram and Facebook.
And don't forget, guys, come back because Paul.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but the question is going to get a little tougher. All right,
Bring 'em
because
on.
listen, this is important. Because here's the thing,
Game on.
and I want to make
Game
sure
on.
we're clear with this. There is no longer a city jail. Everybody goes to the Harris County
That's
Hill.
correct. Yes.
So if you have kids right now, if you have a young man who parking ticket or forgot to go to court on something silly that we've all forgotten many times, you can't go down like you did down to the marshal's office and go, "Hey man, I forgot to go to the court. Can I turn myself into you so I can see the judge?" They've got to go down to that very scary place.
Yes.
And that could be your kid, my kid. That could be anybody's kid at this point.
Yes. That's called the Joint Processing Center because you have HPD on one side and the county on the other, and then all the other people from all around the county bring prisoners in. So it's a big mess. You're right. We got to straighten that out.
So think about that, guys. Come back. We'll be right back. 2-2. We'll be right back.
I'll never forget that.
Lead into a question.
Let's go back. Let's
All right,
get
I'm
back to
ready.
the show. And we're back. This is the Game On Sports Talk Show. Tonight, it's all about community. It's all about protecting the community. It's all about protecting those of our loved ones who may or may not be incarcerated at some point. We want them to come home. Don't you want them to come home? We have no, as a disclaimer to the show, we have no problem whatsoever. Personally, on a personal level, with the current sheriff, but some changes need to be made. That's my disclaimer. We are here to support Paul Day Sheriff for 2024. Go and give him a follow on Instagram and Facebook at Paul Day for Sheriff 2024. He is here to discuss some changes that he's going to make. He's here to excuse me. Slip ups count live, y'all. No editing here. He's here to discuss protecting the community better. He's here to make sure you're safe when you go to the gas station. Because me personally, my woman, I don't let her go out at night. And that's not me being some kind of male chauvinist. I don't trust that she'll be safe. So I go and get the gas. I go and get the groceries if it's late at night, because I'd hate to get a phone call and say she's been robbed, she's been raped. The crime is that bad. It's that bad. So changes need to be made to keep our family and friends safe. And that's what this gentleman wants to do. He's got 45 years of experience at being law enforcement, being in law enforcement, excuse me. He's got 45 years experience. Excuse me for the on-air bloopers, but he wants to make changes. If you have any concerns, if you have any questions, we have our number scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Please call in. We welcome you to call in at 832-560-2885. I will get Lewis to put his information up also if you'd like to do some homework on him yourself. We've got his website. We've got his phone number. We've got his email. We've got his social media I've already given you. Now, back to Game On Sports Talk Show, where tonight it's all about this man right here. Back to my co-host, Arthur.
All right, kiddies. Like I said, things are going to get tougher. And if you're just now joining us, we're talking with potential Sheriff Paul Day. The primaries are coming up. We know that, but before we went to break, we were talking about, okay, hypothetically, you've won the election. Now you're the sheriff. Now we're going to put you in the hot seat, okay? Because people have a lot of questions. Like I said, I love what you've told me so far. It sounds great. It sounds amazing. But we're going to try and put a little more rubber to the road, okay? Because like you said, you wanted transparency. Those of you that are just joining us, he's talking about once he becomes sheriff, having a medium like this on a monthly basis to not only be accountable to the citizens of Harris County, but to bridge the gap between what we have, not only just in Harris County, but in law enforcement across America right now. There's leeriness, there's all these different things. So let's just dive right in. So again, I've got some L's working behind the scenes for me over here. So I'm going to read you a couple things and I'm going to ask you a question. Okay. So when we start this, I want you to think about, would you support a better rapport between the sheriff's department and the constables? And here's where we're going to get into it. Okay, so District 1. This station is in District 1. There's about 500,000 residents, 500,000 Harris County citizens here. Okay, you have on an average right now, Sheriff, between 10 to 12 deputies or units rolling 24/7.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is 10 to 12 vehicles and deputies that are trying to support over 40,000 calls of service every day. 40,000 calls, we're talking 10 to 12 cars. Okay, that is a major problem. Yeah. But speaking of that, I want to talk about, again, we've got to fix some issues before we can grow the better, right? What about using and working with the constables? And how would you do that? And if you agree with something like that, what would your plan be?
Well, in reality, we already do that in a modified way, because a lot of times we'll back them up or they'll back us. It's just natural. If you're a policeman, you want to back up another policeman. I have a plan, again, with training. I want to have like a law enforcement chamber of commerce, which I already mentioned. There's over 50 agencies. There's 8 different constables. I want to bring them all together in a conference for maybe 2 or 3 days, where we can all sit down and do what you're saying, and what can we do to help each other? And I'll just give you one example. Everybody's concerned about human trafficking, and I have a son that's in Erie County, New York, on a joint task force with the federal government, with ATF and everybody, and drugs, and they all work together, and they have organizations like that here, but to help combat domestic violence and the human trafficking. When I get this group together, I would like to ask all of them to donate manpower so we can have a multi-jurisdictional task force to work together to solve some of the problems. These 12 guys can't handle all the calls. And when you're out there running these special operations, if something big happens, everybody runs to that area. You're aware that they're creating another district out here, but just because there's more crime, they're combining the high crime rate areas of District 2, which is across 45, and District 1, which is over here, and they're putting in the middle where all the crime is. I think Cypress is Sergeant Hillborn and Cypress are going to be involved in that in District 6. So now you're going to have 3 districts that were only 2, and now that's with the sheriff's office. But you got all these contracts around that already the constables will come out and help if they know we got a major problem.
Okay, so speaking of that, now we're bringing in a 3rd department. We're going to stretch those cars even further. So let me ask you a question, Sheriff. Would you go with the sheriff to the constables that you border with and say, hey, what if we combine our dispatching service, one dispatch, everybody picks up calls, obviously District 1 will be routed to District 1, District 2 will be routed to District 2, and so on and so forth. Would you say, hey, let's share the load on this, at least in the interim, in the beginning, until we get some control back, right? What do you think?
Well, interestingly enough, when I started in 1992, that was one of my plans. The major problem we have is the lack of communications with other agencies and the report keep taking of everything. So if you could just combine communications and everybody does the same report system, we all got the same computer system, then we can access anything that's happened in Harris County and then any agency. Like when I worked with HPD, I got frustrated because when I came to the north side, I worked the north side. And then when I went past Gulf Bank, even if I had somebody that was in the county, and I kind of outsmarted them. I just gave an address in Houston if I wanted to do something there, and I cleaned it up so I could handle the case. But most guys don't do that. They just say that's in someone else's jurisdiction. So I've always had the plan of consolidating the records division and the and dispatch. Now dispatch countywide, you got different areas, so District 1 would be different. But if we're out here with Mark Herman, there's no reason why Mark Herman and us. Does Mark Herman even have a 911 system that they go? No, so they. Yeah, they all go. 911 goes through SL, but don't they have their own dispatch they can call?
They have their own, yes.
Yeah, okay. So
yeah, they have their own non-emergency dispatch,
but
and I know that for a fact.
Yeah, but that's irresponsible. I mean,
right.
we need to get to that. That would be an easy thing to fix, I believe, just to get the constables in the area where the deputies are at. And this county is, I believe, the 3rd largest county area-wise, and the 4th largest. Is the 4th largest area-wise? I thought it's 3rd. It's the 4th largest department and the 3rd largest in area in the whole country. So we're and sometimes out here there's only 3 or 4 officers. There's supposed to be 12, but if they take off, so it's pathetic right now.
Give me just a second, Mr. Day and Arthur. We're now live on TikTok. I love this social media. We can reach the world. We're now live on TikTok, and I want to make sure they understand what's going on here. Please tag people who are residing in Harris County, Texas. Harris County, Houston, Texas. Tag them to this video. This interview is all about them. This is our first town hall meeting at Real Talk 100 Radio. And we want you to go and follow Mr. Paul. We want you to go and follow Paul Day for Sheriff 2024 on Instagram and Facebook. Please tag your family members, your friends who stay in Harris County. If they reside in Harris County, this interview is for them. This man right here is Paul Day for Sheriff 2024 on Instagram and Facebook. Real quick, in about 30 seconds, tell them about yourself so they'll know who to follow, why to follow you.
Well, the main reason you should follow me, I've been in law enforcement for 45 years with both the Houston Police Department and the Harris County Sheriff. I finished my career 11 years with the Harris County Sheriff, and the people that are going against me in the primary have never served with the Harris County Sheriff's Office. So that gives me a edge up on them, so that when I take office, I can immediately start doing things to help safety and protection in your communities.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Y'all share this for me. Share this live for me to your stories. Share it all over Harris County, Texas. Please call in. Call in. This goes to Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter as well. Call in Harris County, Texas with your questions and your concerns at 832-560-2885. Thank you.
Okay, Sheriff. So as we were talking, we've already got a unified jail.
Yes.
Why not have a unified call center, at least, like say with Precinct 4, District 1?
Yes.
like you, I have a little time with HPD as well. I know trying to interact with another agency, out of agency, when I was in was a nightmare because I would have to get permission. I'd have to get my dispatch to get hold of their dispatch. And then, I'd have to acknowledge who I was, my unit number. And by the time I'm trying to get all this help, I'm already in a foot chase and no one knows where I'm at.
Yeah.
So with that system, would you be not only pro, hey, constables, we need to come together as one. We're going to share the load. We're going to share the calls. I know they have their contracts. I know you guys have some contracts. But with 40,000 calls, we need more people on the street. And a good way to get this working is bring them into the 911 system, at least my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
Okay.
That would, I don't know why we haven't done it.
Okay, well, good. Well, Sheriff, Luis has a question for you.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Paul Day,
Yes.
so from my generation, how will you put trust back into us and to it shows that you mean well, basically?
Yeah. Well, what's your generation? What's your age bracket?
I am 25.
25?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're talking the millennial generation. Remember,
Yeah.
his generation's talked about,
VMO,
get rid of the
all
police,
Yes.
all this other
Yes,
BS.
I still think it's everything I'm saying. They just need to see the police treating them like human beings. And then, of course, you know as well as I do, I would like to go into the colleges. And, the colleges are a little bit liberal and left wing, and they teach the kids to be disobedient. I've even heard that this person that attacked Lakewood Church was one of these dissidents that believed all the Black Lives Matter stuff and believed all the things that against Israel, and that's because they're being taught wrong. They aren't hearing the truth. So and actually, stations like this, doesn't your group listen into stations like this?
Yes, sir. They
Yeah,
do.
so that's what we want to do. We want to reach out, and I want to go into the schools with you 25, but I want to catch you when you're. Just the fact that I was a teacher, I know how kids are. And by the way, everybody, I got 7 children, I got 17 grandchildren and 3 great grandchildren. I got one
Busy man.
grandchild right now that he's playing select baseball. I love taking him to baseball. They're going to make him a catcher now. He's a little guy, but he's the only one that can catch the ball behind the plate. Mm-hmm. So you start there. And when he goes to Lutheran South Academy, and when I go over there to have lunch with him, all these kids grab it. You know why? Because they know I was a cop. My grandson, he's proud of it. And then I've got another son here that's he's got 22 years with HPD, and he's younger. And so we got to just bring the younger police officers. Matter of fact, I feel sorry for the ones in Lakewood. One of them was 28 years old, only 2 years on the job, and now he had to be involved in a situation where a little 5-year-old kid got shot, and that's horrendous on a person's life. But I like the recruiting process, and I as sheriff will go and actively try to get both kids in high school as well as coming into college, and then people in the military. That's where you get the bulk of people that will really your generation will really be. What do you? I can't even keep up with what you call Gen X, or what do you call
Millennial.
Millennials? Okay.
No, Gen X, right here, baby. We're the Gen Xers, right?
Yeah.
We're the latchkey kids and all that. So,
Well, I'm a baby boomer, so I'm way ahead.
So, Lewis, how does he sound so far, man? And to you,
He, for me personally, he's speaking from the heart, and that's what matters the most. So you have my vote right there.
I
there
appreciate
you
that.
go. All right, we got our Sheriff. You got your first millennial.
Yes.
We're doing
And
well.
I just was at a group yesterday. They asked me to finish up. Why is it this was the last thing, and this was a lot of elderly women, but some in between. And why do you want to be sheriff? And this is coming from the Holy Spirit. And all I could think of is because I love you and I love your children, and I want you to love us in return. And that's the reason I want to be sheriff. And I thank you for bringing it. It is my heart, and it's David Hilborn. He's got the same heart. I got to compliment him because I've worked with him the whole time I was at the sheriff's office, and he's confessed to me. I wonder, how could you be my sergeant all these? I was on nights and then on evenings and he's kind of followed me around, and then he confessed that nobody else wanted to be my sergeant because I would always get into stuff even at my age. So and it was a blessing that I had him as my sergeant. And there's other sergeants like him that we plan on helping us to change the department around.
Hey, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great right there.
awesome. Mr. Paul Day for Sheriff 2024. We want you to go and give him a follow on Instagram and Facebook. Go and give him a follow. Give him a chance. Go to his website. Do your homework. Do your due diligence to find out more about him. You don't have to just sit here and listen to us. I'm not a used car salesman. I want you to study yourself. But from what we've heard ourselves, what our millennial has heard for himself, it's a good sale. It's an easy sale. Talking to Paul Day here and our studios, we want you to give him a chance for Sherriff. No one is bashing here. No one is bashing anybody in office. Nobody is bashing anybody else. I don't want to see any negative comments. If I do, that's fine. That makes it even better show. So I'm just saying, as a disclaimer, there's no ill will towards the currently serving sheriff, doing a fine job, but some things need to change. And if you're interested in change, if you're interested in protecting our communities better, if you're interested in protecting your loved ones when they are incarcerated, you want to make sure they come home safe. You want to end some of the deaths that are happening, stop some of the deaths that are happening inside of Harris County jails. This is the man you might want to talk to. You might want to look into his experience. He's very experienced, 45 plus years in service for our communities. Paul Day for Sheriff 2024. And a quick note before I hand the microphone back to my co-host, I want to make sure TikTok knows I need you to share. This is my first time live on TikTok. Y'all give me all the love. Give Paul Day all the love. Hopefully I can convince him and his team to get a TikTok soon. This is the place to be.
Yes.
This is the place to
I
be.
think we already have TikTok, don't we?
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We do have.
Yes.
Go and follow Paul Day for Sheriff 2024 on TikTok also. So that's TikTok, that's Facebook, and that's Instagram. Paul Day for Sheriff 2024. We're trying to see change. If you have any family members, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and now TikTok, any family members, any friends who live or reside, both, you can interchange the two words, any family or friends that reside in Harris County, Texas, tag them to this interview because this interview is for you. We're going to protect your families more. Paul Day is going to protect your families more. He's going to protect, and serve like sheriff departments are supposed to do. That's all I got. Go ahead, Arthur.
All right. Well, I wanted to share one thing. I want to pick up on one thing you said, Malcolm. Getting back to, there was an incident. We all know about George Floyd. There was protests here in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the guys from Veteran Nation, guys that I trained with, we went out, wanted to be a part of that. One, we disagreed with what happened to that man. Secondly, we wanted to support the community. One thing that I want to share with everybody, and this is not me being a Harris County proponent, or no one's paid me to say this, but while we were out there, I noticed there was one sergeant with the sheriff's office. There was this lady giving him the business about, do you see what happened? He's like, yes, ma'am, I do. And he finally shut her up because she said, well, what do you think about it? He said, why do you think I'm here? I'm not here to police you. I'm marching with you. The guys policing are over there. And he grabbed her hand and we walking together. Mm-hmm. And what I found amusing at that point, because I started like, all right, I'm paying attention to this because he got my attention, right? Because I have law enforcement in my background. I have friends who are in law enforcement, but I don't play the defense game. You're either right or you're wrong. I have my belief system, and if you're on this side of the belief system, cool. If you're not on this side, then hey, I'm going to stand against you as well and do my voice. But what was amazing to me is I did not see one Harris County Sheriff's deputy be aggressive. I saw them, there were people that were like seeing it. Okay, will you march with us? Oh yeah, they took their hands. Let's go. And from what I remember, everything was kind of okay until somebody from a certain mounted police decided to run over a lady with a horse. But there again, Sheriff's Department stepped in, and there wasn't aggression. It was, first they ran to render aid, and then everybody's like, okay, everybody calm down, back up. And so that's a positive. Yeah. Right. And so we're talking about all these issues today. And I wanted to say, and expand on what Malcolm said real quick. I have no allegiance to a party. The only party I have allegiance to is the Veteran Nation. I'm a military veteran. It's like Dave, just like you. Outside of that, I'm going to vote for who I think is either going to do the most good or is going to hurt us the least amount. Mm-hmm. Right. So I wanted to get that disclaimer out there. So let's get back to talking about with you as sheriff. We're talking about the jail. We're talking about combining. We know that they're putting a new district in to where I think it's a focused, and correct me here if I'm wrong, it's going to be one of those focused things where it's a high crime area. They're going to focus on kind of getting some of that calmed down. Yes. Okay. So talking to someone, I know there was a lady who got on TV after her son was killed by a man who 48 hours after PR bonding on a murder charge. Okay. Paul, do me a favor. Talk to her. Talk to those families.
Yeah.
Let's do some from the heart. Let's talk about some real talk. You're sheriff. Now you got to go talk to this lady because you just told us somebody dies in your jail. I don't care which side of the fence they're on. They're my constituent. I'm going to go talk to their family. What do you say to that lady?
Well, that woman is right that our system let the guy go when he should have been in jail. Everybody knows already. I've been there for a long time. We never let people out of jail that murdered anybody. They had such a high bond. Now because they've changed the bonding system, and it wasn't even meant for felonies, it was meant for misdemeanors. But because, and I would encourage, when you get me elected through the primary, I promise all of you that I'm going to organize every district court judge and every county court judge. That's where the criminal cases are, so that we can have a red wave that they've never seen before. And once we get these conservative judges in, all this is going to go away. But they're letting people out that are on probation that commit other crimes, and they're letting them go. In the old days, if you were on probation, you would stay in jail if you committed another crime because they put a no bond on you. They already let you out once. So I'm sorry that these things have to happen, and it breaks my heart. I couldn't even sleep the night after Lakewood, knowing that poor 5-year-old was drug into the mess. So just like Lewis said, I have a heart for this, and I'm going to do everything I can to keep these aggressive, violent offenders, especially domestic violence. But anybody that kills someone should not get out of jail. They should stay there until I know they're innocent until proven guilty. But if you have the probable cause and you feel that they did it, and let them go to court, let them prove that they're innocent.
Well, on that one, before we go any further, I'm also understanding that man was combative with the jailer, with the deputies. This guy was just looking for a fight with anybody and everybody. Apparently, he was disrespectful to the judge. There should have been, okay.
Well, let me stop you right there because I'll jump in.
Please.
That's another thing we're going to do. The jail right now, I will badmouth them for this point. They don't prosecute when they do something in the jail. When we take office, this is an ultimate promise to the citizens and that woman who lost her son. If you attack somebody in the jail, you're never getting out of my jail because we're going to file another charge on you, and it's going to be aggravated assault on a police officer, and you already got another charge. You're going to stay in jail until that case is disposed of, and more than likely they'll be habitual criminals anyways. And this is what they're going to know. You know how they're going to know ahead of time? All we have to do is we're going to have poster children. When this occurs, 3 or 4 of them do it, then the jail will be very, very non-compliant. I was just looking at where was that? We were looking at El Salvador, that they cleaned the place up late. There's a video on El Salvador. This guy went in there, and El Salvador was the most violent nation in the world.
Birthplace of Matasushi.
Yeah, but they cut the death rate down to almost nothing because everybody that he was fed up, the president, they got a jail that holds 40,000 people. And you know what they showed him? They showed him in underwear, back to back, and they showed them walking like this. Now, we can't do that here because it would be unconstitutional, but we can definitely keep them in jail when they commit these crimes. And then once they commit the crime or they attack someone in the jail, if they're attacking someone in the jail, what are they going to do when they get out?
Attack somebody.
Attack somebody else. So we keep them in jail, we prosecute them, and then I'm going to go to, because I'm an elected official, I have a lot of allies. I already mentioned Martha Fierro, or her daughter Angel is only 28. She's going to go. I believe she's going to win. And everybody, if you live in a congressional district 29, Sylvia Garcia, we need a new person there. And when she goes to Congress, I'll be able to work with her to change these laws so we can file them with federal charges too.
The lady you just mentioned, is she? I'm trying my best not to mention many names, but is the lady you just mentioned going to take the place of the lady whose last name begins with an O and ends with a G?
Oh, you talking about Kim Hogg?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Because that's all over my timeline every day. She's releasing people. And they're getting out and they're doing this. So the lady, who you hoping replaces?
No, the lady I'm talking about is going to run for Congress. But since you brought Kim Hogg up,
oh, here we go. Batter up.
No, but you're gonna be surprised.
Hey, Sheriff, I'm serious. I want to hear it. Batter up.
You're gonna be surprised. I am not. I believe we can. Don Simon was running. I'm for him all the way, and just like I want to get the judges. But if we don't get her defeated, I worked with Kim Hogg when I was in domestic violence, when she's an assistant DA. Kim Ogg is not the reason people go out of jail. It's the judges. She's trying to keep them in jail. And then let's go to Lena Hidalgo in the commissioner's court. I think the assistant DAs are like 40 or 50 short of what they need to prosecute cases. So that's why you got a backlog. And Kim, I would defend Kim Ogg. She's a little bit liberal and leftist with the death penalty, that kind of stuff. But I know Kim Ogg wants to keep people in jail.
So how are the judges overruling what Kim Ogg wants?
Well,
That's the disconnect with the community, and
Well,
I think that's what they want to know. If it's not her fault,
Yeah, because
why
my
aren't
phone's
they
blowing
fo-
up over here.
why-
So
I'll be glad to answer those questions. All we do, here's what happens as a plea. And remember we mentioned I filed numerous charges, and I continued it all up until I retired in 2020. We get a case, we have probable cause. We make the probable cause affidavit. We go to a judge, they sign it, we get a warrant for the arrest. Kim Ogg and her prosecutors only prosecute. The judges are the ones that are letting them out of jail. Not Kim Ogg. She's
the
trying
low
to
bonds and so forth.
Yeah, with no bond, and then she's forced. Now I'm not gonna compliment her too much because there are assistant DAs that are overworked. Sometimes will argue with the policeman and not take the charge that we need. When we get, I've already talked to Don Simon, who's our candidate. He's unopposed. He's in agreement with me with the habitual criminal, and he's in agreement with me that we have to clean up the filing of charges where we have to get approval from the DA. I believe we'll have ultimate cooperation. Back in the day when Johnny Holmes was there and Chuck Rosenthal, that would be my most place I like to go the most, the DA's office. The DA's, assistant DA's treated us with respect. We all cooperate. We all work together to put these criminals in jail. The minute the leftists took over, Kim Ogg, it got a little bit different because she didn't force her assistant DAs to take charges. So that part about her is bad, but she's not responsible for letting all these people go. She's trying to prosecute. She doesn't have enough assistant DAs to prosecute, and she doesn't. The judges are the ones that are telling her you don't have enough probable cause, or they're dismissing the cases, or they're just telling them to come back later.
Okay.
y'all hear that? It's not Kim Ogg's fault, y'all.
Well,
It's not Kim Ogg's fault.
Isn't that
Get
a
off.
surprise?
well, there's a bunch of questions regarding that, but
Okay.
Okay.
what we're going to say is it's at this point, again, with my limited experience in law enforcement, he's right to a degree that if you can present any case you want.
Yeah.
If a judge goes, yeah, I'm, $300 cash bond. Yeah, that you're doing nothing because you can't overrule a judge. All you can do is at that point file an appeal. I'm sure a judicial appeal and probably try to move to another court. But there again, there's this other drama while this guy's out. So getting back to, and we're going to talk about Kim Ogg for a minute because, my phone's so consensus are if you're stuck with Kim Ogg, because there's a lot of people, and then I'm having people saying, I'm not saying my name.
Mm-hmm.
So these are people with law enforcement community that she and her district attorneys go cop hunting. And I'm quoting, cop hunting.
Okay.
So one, are you aware of that? Number two,
Yes.
if that seems to be the case, Sheriff, do we go knock that door down and go, hey, we need to have a conversation?
Wait. What is cop hunting?
In other words, they're looking to prosecute police officers for any simple thing, is what they're saying.
And who's cop hunting?
Kim Ogg and the DAs.
Okay. All right.
But that's common nationwide, by the way. If a cop screws up, they're going to go get them because they like doing that. And I don't have.
It's good press. I get it.
Yeah, but if you're guilty of doing something, I don't have any problem with that because we should know better.
Okay, so wait. Time out. Say that again, Sheriff. If your deputies are guilty, they what?
They need to be prosecuted.
There you go.
And we're going to do that. We're not. I don't want anybody out there that's. And in my career, I've known a number of people personally that deserve to go to prison, and I didn't have any problem with it. I'm not going to defend them, but there are a lot of cops. Derek Chauvin up there in St. Louis with Michael Brown. He ended up having to kill him, but the guy was attacking him, and he just robbed somebody, and it ruined his whole life. He got exonerated, and that's a perfect case of.
But he was killed in the media. Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
He was tortured in the media.
So,
Sure.
But let's get back to Kim Ogg. What I had already remember, I earlier said I'd go talk to the county commissioner. I guess I left Kim Ogg out because during the domestic violence days, I had a personal relationship with her because she was a domestic violence advocate also, and she was in the domestic violence prosecution process, so she knows that I know what I'm doing, and I feel I can go talk to her and tell her I know that it's not really. She probably doesn't even know what's going on. They'll bring the cases to her and then she'll prosecute, but there's people in the DA's office that are out to get cops. You're right. And so I'm here. I promise the deputies as well as the community that if an officer is wrong, and I also would tell you this, I'm offended. I'm a constitutionalist. The policemen are also innocent until proven guilty. So when you, unless it's just on all kinds of videotapes and you see them just shooting somebody in the head, if it's anything questionable, you don't fire them right away. You put them on administrative leave. They still get a pay raise, not pay raise. They still get pay until they're convicted. Then once they're convicted, they go to jail and then they're done. But so I'm going to
fair system across the board.
Yeah, fair system. Yes.
Okay, and I'm for that. I don't think anybody would have a complaint with that. Another thing regarding Kim Ogg is, okay, all I'm going to say is I have over 30 years experience. However, it is very difficult to press charges because it's almost like we're not allowed to.
Yes, that's
so
true.
We need to address that, Sheriff, if you will.
Yeah, yes. Well, again, I'll go back to David Hilborn. David, you know how many charges I filed, correct? I never got a DA not to take charge. And some of the, I'm not saying all the time, but some of the problem is that the policemen that are preparing the cases don't know how to put the probable cause out so that well, let me give you an example. My son, everything's on camera now. This is something that Kim Ogg has done. I'm going to correct. He files a lot of charges for because he works the homeless areas. Mm-hmm. He works a special unit out of downtown called differential response. Well, on his camera, he made an arrest of a guy for he didn't make the arrest yet. He had a homeless guy that's a sexual offender and hadn't registered. And what he did, and this is. He's learned this from me. Even though he's a young guy, he's an old schooler because he grew up around me. He tells the people, look, you came in from out of town, you're homeless, you're supposed to be registered. This is where you got to go to register. I'm going to give you 1 month. Well, you think they went and registered?
No.
He'd find them in another homeless encampment. A month later, he's got his notes. So then he doesn't tell them nothing. He goes back and it takes about 2 or 3 hours to file this. Normally he sends it to the sex offenders, but they've given him permission to do it. So he does all this work. He sends the charges. They call him back. They said, we're not going to accept the charges because we don't have your body camera. He didn't even know that they changed the policy. So they wanted his body camera and he had already downloaded it. So, that becomes complicated. You know what's happened with HPD now? They have to have a separate division just to watch the body cameras. And that what the DA's telling the police, this is police hunting on a monumental spectrum. She's telling the police, we don't believe anything you say. We want to see it on body camera.
Okay, so you've got a guy. We can look him up in gyms. It was gyms back then. I don't know what they call it now. I can look him up. He's a sex offender. He's not registered. That's a no-brainer. It's you're coming with me.
Yes.
We got to go talk to the judge.
Yes,
because that's part of condition of release. They're not taking the charges because they don't have a body cam of him explaining it to him. Well, why does he have to? Why do you need that, Sheriff? Because he's a sex offender and he did not register. That is right there. Your deputy or your police officer has a mandate at that point. He's got to see the judge, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So but also, even when I was there, they don't take the failure to register that seriously because I've had cases where I know, and it all comes from domestic violence. He's living with someone and he's a sex offender and he hadn't registered. He's living with this person. We should be able to arrest him right away and take him to jail and just file a charge. They won't let you do that anymore. They want you to do more research. And prove unequivocally it's the old, is it common law or is he just staying there overnight and he lives someplace else? And I know he's been living there after one case I can remember, he'd been living there for months and they still wouldn't take the charge.
Okay, so but yeah, okay, so let's clear this up here. He's a sex offender.
Yes.
Let's say he did register, but he's staying somewhere he's not supposed to. Maybe she has a young child. The second you see that, as an officer, as a Texas peace officer with a TCO license, I'm obligated to make that kid safe. So somebody's riding.
Yeah, that's what I believe. Yes.
Okay,
sometimes they won't. They might tell him to leave. He's coming back, and he'll leave because he didn't want to go to jail.
Oh, yeah, he's gonna come, but he's coming back. You know that. I know that. Everybody listening knows that. So maybe there is a problem with our prosecutor and our head DA because apparently they're learning to skate. I'm asking this question. I'm not asking this question. I'm going to make a comment. Yeah. But from my understanding with people in general in life, it doesn't matter what career you're in. If your people aren't doing their job, you're the boss, it's because they're following by example.
Yeah, you're right.
And I hate to
But
say
the
that.
sheriff, she's there, I can go and talk to her and tell her, look, this is the things we think you're doing wrong. Why don't you straighten it up?
So,
And she may or
okay,
may
so
not.
Sheriff, let me ask you a very tough question. She's not doing her job. And I've got someone chiming in. You putting her in bracelets?
I don't have the authority to do that, I don't believe. I'd have to go to grand jury myself, or maybe go to the Attorney
But
General's office.
would you start that?
Yes, I would start the process
Okay.
if I felt she wasn't doing her job.
So I'm not saying you arrest her on the
Just-
spot, but
I give her credit because she went after Lena Hidalgo, and now they've got someone up trying to get her out. Even we may get rid of her, maybe they'll vote her out anyways.
And that's the ONG.
The
Lena Hidalgo?
Lena Hidalgo is the
No.
county judge.
Yeah.
No, they'll get Og out or Hidalgo.
Well, Hidalgo, I don't know what's happened with her case, but Hidalgo is supporting someone that's running against Aga, is what I've heard. I
Okay.
don't know who's running
Oh,
against
so
her.
we're gonna have a cat fight on our hands. Okay.
And you got to remember, I'm trying to win a primary, so it's hard to keep up with all this stuff. I'm just
No, I understand. It's just there again, people
Yeah.
obviously there's some very serious issues.
yes,
And they're wanting to hear. And one thing I noticed, Paul, I'm gonna tell you right now, just between me, you, and the wall, we're standing here. The second I mentioned that problem, I heard his voice change because that kind of got a little angry. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
that's not happening on my watch.
yeah,
This is what people need to hear
Yes.
because that's real.
yeah.
Right? That's not I'm pretending because I hit you out of side because do you know what's on my phone?
No,
No, so there's no agenda, right?
no.
So trust me, I'm excited right now. But okay, so let's switch.
Well, let me final that.
All right.
What I don't like is them now they're requiring body cameras of copies of the body camera of every charge that you file. So they're telling the police this is a gigantic morale downer. They're telling the police they don't believe what you're saying. So they want to prove what you're saying by looking at your body camera.
So departmentally, and I'm just going to make a speculation here. You
Yeah.
can agree, disagree, or whatever you want. So from my perspective, departmentally in that prosecutor's office, it's worse of a poop show than we got going on at the jail because apparently
Yes.
there's no leadership at all.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So
yes.
that ship is just
Yes.
running by itself.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we have a problem. Are you hearing this, guys? We have a problem in Harris County. We need to get a sheriff that's going to go in there and either try to help right the boat or go talk to that U.S. attorney and go, hey, man, we got a problem.
Yes.
We need some help. Moving on, question. And here, this is a question that they start the question with, I don't know if this is something you can control, but there was a law passed that says every school will have a Texas peace officer or a police officer on location. Someone, they're not police, they're a school teacher. They're not naming names, but they've worked in a couple of districts, I guess, to support. They're saying this is not happening, and that is a direct breach of Texas law.
Mhm.
First of all, is there anything you can do about that? And secondly, if there is, are you going after whoever's not supplying that officer? Please speak on that.
I would have to do research on it. I would think that would probably be the Attorney General because they're violating a law that was passed by the legislature. But I don't think I have the authority. David, would you?
I'm not sure.
We're not sure on that, but
Okay, so let me ask this question.
I would go into the schools now. The Lutheran South Academy, that when they passed the law, they have one armed security guard, and then they went to school guardian. This is what I always thought would be appropriate, and I thought if I became sheriff, I would encourage them to teach. Other than having a armed guard that you can see, because then what will happen is the real terrorists will know who you are and they'll come and kill you, and then the school guardian program that they have that is a former military. The school guardians are training teachers, and at my school they have 5 armed guards that are armed concealed handgun teachers. They've got the high school, the middle school, and the lower school. Now nobody knows who they are except for the superintendent, which is a good plan.
No, that's actually
So there's
really
5
smart.
policemen or 5 teachers there that are armed and they're well trained. And I asked him because I know the superintendent. He's a pastor at our church also. And I said, well, how did you select them? He says, well, I just knew that these people were outdoorsmen and hunters. And I went and asked them, would you like to be armed? And they all agreed. And then they went to training. That's a better program, by the way, than having policemen on.
So we do have a question in the comments. It's going to be right up on the screen. Mr. Day, as a sheriff, would you implement a physical fitness program requirement for your deputies?
Uh-oh.
Well, again, I'll go back to my Houston police experience. My son is still in real good shape, and you know what they do? They have I don't know what they call it anymore, but there used to be a program where you had to take it every year, but they didn't force you to pass it. If you don't pass it, just nothing happens. But if you pass it according to your age bracket and the standards, I think you make more money, and plus you get more time off, like paid time off, like the overtime. So I would try to do something like that, encouraging you can't really force these guys that are 30 or 40 years on the department that are so far out of shape, but you can encourage them to go and take the test and maybe walk the track or something, and then maybe get a physical trainer or something. I've thought about that because I got physical education degree, and when I was on the SWAT team, we stayed in shape all the time. I'm embarrassed that I've gotten in bad shape getting older, but,
Okay,
but
so,
yeah, that's a good question though. Thank you.
so I have a question that just banged in. Following up with what our online question was, and thank you for that question. Okay, but as sheriff, would you mandate certain types of patrol, whether it be special response group? Obviously, SWAT has to because they're high speed, and that's a whole nother scenario. Would you say, okay, there has to be something implemented where, okay, maybe we're not going to get rid of the county, but you may not be able to work, say, this new District 6, where there's going to be probably a lot of foot chases, this and that. I'm going to need some young guns who can fly, who can run with these kids. What kind of policy do you think you would you put a policy in place of, okay, if the job dictates where you have to have a certain level of fitness, then we may have to transfer you someplace that doesn't?
Yeah, well, that goes along with my tenure in the SWAT team. We all had to take a PT test, and you had to run a certain a mile and a half at first, and then 2 miles later in a certain time, and you did a little bit of physical activity, and that's what was called. A lot of people just want to be able to go to the interview, and if they're qualified to go, but that's called Method B in HB. Do they have anything like that with the Harris County where you have to show certain skills to be in a position?
And the drawback is they turned a lot of that over to HR
Okay.
to have certain requirements before they can even get an interview.
Yeah.
Instead of the department or the bureau that's requesting the person, they already have their requirements. But some of these other requirements don't necessarily apply.
See, this would be an indirect way of going back to that first question. If people want to get in these select divisions, my son's 45 and he still chases people down. He does all kinds of amazing things. He doesn't like anybody to get away from him, but he stays in shape. And that's why every time they know they're going to have narcotics calls them if they think they're going to run because they know he'll chase them.
Right.
So when you get these specialized divisions and someone wants to get out of patrol and go specialized, then you go with the same mandates we have with SWAT. You take a written test, you have an interview with the people in the squad, and then you have to be physically fit. So that would be an indirect way of keeping guys fit if they want to get a specialized division.
So moving
Thank
forward,
you for giving me the idea.
Okay, so moving forward, that was great, Luis, by the way. So moving forward, I'm just following up. So moving forward, as sheriff in a patrol district, we're in District 1 right now.
Mhm.
In a patrol district, would you set something similar? And they're calling out something similar to what is done in the U.S. military, a certain fitness standard to say, hey, if you're going to be out on patrol, obviously you might have to fight for your life. You may have to defend someone. Any plethora of chaos can go on. Are you, as a sheriff, are you saying, hey, as we start bringing these new guys in, we're going to have to mandate some kind of physical fitness minimum, like a yearly exam or something? Would you do something like that as sheriff?
Well, I'm in favor of doing that, but it's going to be very difficult to start it off because of the unions, and the unions are going to complain. And but it would go back to that. You give them incentive to stay in shape, and then you can force them to come out every year and at least show us what they can do, and hopefully you can encourage them. And that goes back to the in-service training that I plan on having, where I can be there speaking with them, say, look, we want y'all to stay healthy. I mean, if you have to chase someone, we want you to catch them, and so it would be an indirect way. But I don't believe you can just force them to coming in. Now, eventually, you can change the regulations. But if they come in, you got to just say you stay in shape. When I was in SWAT, eventually I got older and I put a little weight on, and I flunked the PT test by 10 seconds, and that was it. I was out of there.
Okay. If you're just now tuning in, everybody, excuse me for just a minute, Arthur. If you're just now tuning in, everybody, we are right in the middle of the Game On Sports Talk Show, and I'd like Lewis to put who we're speaking to today. He's up for he's up for sheriff. His name is on air bloopers do count, y'all.
Yes.
His name is Paul Day, and he's up for sheriff. He's running for sheriff. There's his information right there. There's where you follow him on Instagram, Facebook, and follow him at Paul Day for Sheriff 2024. That's his website right there on the screen. And you can follow him on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram at Paul Day for Sheriff. We're talking about safety for our community, safety for our loved ones who might end up incarcerated one day, or if they're already incarcerated, we want to make sure they come home safely to you. We want to make sure they come home and don't end up, we don't want incidents like Lakewood to happen often. Now, that leads to my next question. Thank you, Lewis. That leads to my next question, and then I'll hand the microphone back to Lewis. How do we prevent? And I know before you even answer, it's hard to be everywhere at one time.
Yeah.
It's impossible, virtually impossible to be everywhere at one time. But incidents like the Lakewood thing, is there any safeguards that could have been put in place to stop that?
Well, that particular incident, everybody did a great job. I mean, there could have been many more people killed, but the policemen reacted immediately. I've actually talked to people that were on the scene. They instantly recognized that there's something wrong. She came in, I guess she was she that wanted to be a man, came in a trench coat, carrying the 5-year-old kid to distract people, but it just didn't look right. So they targeted in on her, and then she tried to get into a room. And when she came out of the room, she came out with a gun. And I was told that it didn't appear as if they could see the young kid. The young kid kind of stayed back in an alcove. And then when they returned fire after one shot, the guy that I was talking to said that it didn't appear as if she shot maybe 1 or 2 shots. And then, of course, the barrage of fire was from the policemen that were trying to take her down.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow the kid, he doesn't think that the policemen that were shooting knew that there was a kid back there.
Okay.
So they didn't see the kid when they were shooting. And I'm hoping that that's true. But because those poor cops, they responded, they ended the threat. But now they're going to have on their mind the rest of their lives that this poor kid got shot too.
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
sure. So speaking about that real quick, and then maybe we'll take a quick break. But I want to expand on that real quick. Would you say that you've talked about bridging that gap between the community and the sheriff's office, and I'm all for that. Once upon a time in the days of old Johnny Clevenhagen, they would have these community nights out, block party things out where the sheriff would come out. And I think one time I actually saw the sheriff himself out talking to everybody that he could, of course. Would you say, and like you said, 100%, I agree that everything that could be done was done. But I want to go back a few years, back to the early 90s. There was a situation right outside of Nimitz High School. And what alerted law enforcement to it was that people saw something wrong. There was a record driver, if I remember correctly, and a couple other people that were like, hey, something's wrong. And they were getting the police, but they were also kind of following this person going on. So as sheriff, if we can build that community system back, and we've already talked about if you hear of a school that does not have a courtesy officer, hey, maybe it's time to ask a question, because we got to keep our kids safe.
Yes.
I mean, they can't defend themselves. I can run, I can fight, whatever. Would you say that would help discourage all of that? Because if you've got, again, 500,000 people in District 1, I'm pretty sure somebody can see something, at least scream out, hey, something's going on, right? What do you think?
Well, that's very true. That's why you have to reach that. Even this show here, it encourages people to call. If you see something, say something. That's what I could give you a true life.
That was the 90s.
I could give you a true life again from my career. I already told you my son was on the narcotics task force in the Erie County Sheriff. He's down here with his family. I got 5 grandkids. They were at the zoo. I get a call from a guy who I used to go to church with. The Wake Church is right over off of Kirkendall and Rankin Circle.
Okay.
He's got a woman that has relatives in New York City. And they're telling them that they have word that there's going to be a school shooting by some kid there. She didn't even know what the school was, but she knew the town. And so he calls me I said, what should we do? And I'm with my son, who's with the narcotics task force. And he said, well, give me the information, Dad. And he makes one call to an FBI agent in Buffalo. Within 3 hours, they located the school and found the guy that was going to do the shooting.
See
that was a lady from a church that knew the pastor and knew me, and then that's how it goes, And that, luckily for us, we saved one mass shooting in a school up in New York City.
When you talk about community policing,
Yes.
that's an example of the community
Yes.
and law enforcement working together as a team,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
And I love that you said that, because that was back in the day. If you see something, say something,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And I think that's something we need to reintegrate here, and we kind of say that a whole lot. So parents that are watching, remember, tell your children, if you see something, say something, right?
Exactly.
So let's take a quick break if we could. I know we've had Paul in the hot seat for a second, and we've asked some really tough questions. And as we go to break, Paul, I'm going to tell you what, you're winning my heart more and more, because you're firing right back. Hey, this is what we need to do, or I don't know, but we can ask this question.
Hey, he's Muhammad Ali and on them ropes.
I'm telling you, he's putting it on me. He's not back down once.
He's roping open on them ropes. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Well, I'm enjoying the questions too. You guys are doing a great job interviewing, and people calling. I'm impressed all the way around. Aren't you, David and Lane?
Well, I'm glad that we're getting some contact. I know I understand people want to be anonymous, but they're reaching out to the show, and that's great. So obviously everybody here is a friend of the show, and thank you very much for that. But stick around. We'll be right back. Let's take a quick break and
quick break. But I want to reiterate, please, we're nothing without your support. Please share the video all over Harris County.
Yes.
We've got 4 corners on Harris County. Share it to all 4 corners and in the middle to make sure that everyone knows that there's a new sheriff in town. I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but there's a new candidate for sheriff. He has to get past what round first?
The primary.
He has to get past the primary first. When is the primary?
February 20. We got 21 days. And I'm with you. I believe by this listener audience, if you guys spread the word like I know you can, and I'll go back to you, Lewis. I need your generation to go out there.
Sir.
They need to come and
That's
vote.
right
They
here.
need to get their families to vote, and they need to spread the word on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. What else? Like, there's other forums, but
Yes.
we can win just from this show alone.
Yes, sir.
So February 20th.
Yeah, February 20th to I think it's the Sunday before March 5th, and then March 5th is the actual election.
March 5th. He has to get past the primary first, y'all. So please vote for him February 20th, so he can get to the elections on February 5th. I mean, on
March 5th.
March 5th, excuse me. This interview is to create more awareness about his campaign. We're not sure yet where his headquarters is. We'll get to that after the commercial break. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back on the Game On Sports Talk Show on Real Talk 100 Radio.
See you soon.
All right, everybody. While we're on a quick commercial break, I just wanted to make sure I keep everybody engaged. We're just on a short commercial break while Mr. Day and everybody talk outside. I just want to make sure share the video for us. Tag people who live in Harris County for us. That's very important to this show. We want everybody in Harris County to know the message today. The message today is that there's an election coming up on March 5th, but there's a primary that needs to be voted on first on February 20th. February 20th is fastly approaching, and this interview is about this man right here, Mr. Paul Day. Paul Day is in the building, and if you have any questions, you have any concerns about the upcoming election, you're more than welcome to call in at that number that's scrolling at the bottom of the screen. While we're on commercial break, you can also take a quick moment to go to his website. Lewis, put the website up there for me. The website and his phone number and everything. No, that prompt, the prompt. That's a prompt.
Gotcha.
Yeah, put the prompt up there for me. That's all of his information right there. Is it? Oh, it's scrolling at the bottom instead of on top. Hide that, and then go to edit right there and take it off scroll. See the check mark? Yes. There you go. There you go. All the information is right there, everybody. His website, his phone number, his email, everything is right there at your disposal. Please do your due diligence and find out more about this candidate. There's no ill will. There's no ill feelings towards Mr. Gonzalez, our current sheriff. We're just trying to change what we want to be, the change that we want to see, and we believe Paul Day can do it. We believe Mr. Gonzalez is doing an absolutely wonderful job. There's no complaints, but sometimes a change is needed to make things better. And that's what we're here to talk about today. This is the Game On Sports Talk Show. Put our flyer up there right quick. Lewis, put our flyer up there right quick. This is the Game On. It's at the bottom. It's somewhere up in there. You'll see me and Arthur's face. Yes, sir, right there. This is the Game On Sports Talk Show, but we are all about the community, supporting small businesses. And today we decided to support Mr. Paul Day. So we'll be back to sports. You know, football season is over. I want to cry right now. Football is my favorite time of the year, but we want to discuss other things that are going on in our communities, our surrounding communities. And today it's about Paul Day. If you are a small business and you would like us to discuss you on our sports talk show, all you got to do is text me or email me. Text Malcolm, I want to be on your show. Text promo. Text anything to get my attention. Text 346-779-5831. Text it to me, and we'll have you in the hot seat on our show, especially while football is over. We will be talking about the Astros. We will be talking about baseball, the Major League Baseball. We will be talking about, I'm not that good at hockey, y'all. I'm not that good at soccer, but baseball, football, track, I don't care if it's college. I don't care if it's professional. March Madness is coming. We will be in here talking about March Madness. If you love sports, if somebody in your family or friends list loves sports, tag them. And we will be live every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. This is the Game On Sports Talk Show. You see me in the middle throwing the H's up. You see Arthur over there to the right, my right, your left. Please watch our show every Tuesday night. We're putting this thing together. We want to be the #1 sports radio show in Houston at some point. Y'all, we can't do that without the community standing behind us. So share the video all over the world, and we're going to get back to our quick commercial break, and we'll be right back on the Game On Sports Show, on the Game On Sports Talk Show with Mr. Paul Day. Go ahead and while we're on commercial break, go ahead and go to his website. Got Popo Fire Spitter, the Elevation Group, Paul Day for Harris County. He's saying good luck. I believe he's an artist, a music artist. I'm not sure who that is. Fire Spitter.
Call in, man.
Call in and let us know who you are. It looks like you got another vote here. Popo Fire Spitter, the Elevation Group, Paul Day for Harris County Sheriff. Good luck, he says.
Well, thank you, Papo.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in. You're more than welcome to call in, Popo. You're more than welcome to call in Prestige Cleaners. I'm going to give them a shout out. And before we get back, we have to start winding up the show. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thanks for the likes, the shares, the comments. I want to give a quick shout out to Prestige Cleaners, everybody. Y'all, make sure when you need your clothes cleaned, you go to 26835 Cypress Wood Drive, Spring, Texas, 77373. I've been talking to them for like a day and a half almost, and their business is struggling, y'all. Go to Prestige Cleaners at 26835 Cypress Wood Drive, Spring, Texas, 77373 when you need your clothes dry cleaned.
Popo dropped a link.
Popo dropped a YouTube link. Yeah, I can't click it. I can't.
Hey, Popo, listen, man, real quick. We only have a little bit of time left, but 832-560-2885, man. Give us a call real quick and tell us who you are. If you have a question for Paul, if not, you want to say something to him or whatever, but let us know who you are because you got a YouTube channel. You never know, man. You might be somebody we want to feature one day.
Yeah, we can't click your hyperlink while we're live.
Yeah.
I'll be able to click it when we're off air. But thank you for tuning in, Popo. Thank you so much. In closing, y'all, I want to make sure Mr. Paul Day gets everything out of his heart and everything out of his mind. Is there anything we missed about your campaign, sir, that you want our listening audience to know about Mr. Paul Day?
Well, the only thing I can say is that I really appreciate this opportunity to share our vision for the county. And we're counting on all of you to spread the word to everybody that you know, because we're planning on winning this primary so we can go against the current sheriff and then win back our whole county so that everything will be safer and that all the problems we've talked about tonight, we can start correcting. It won't be a quick fix, but we'll be able to start. And the promise I'm making you is that everybody knows through statistics that 10 to 20% of all criminals commit 50% of the crime. So with all the things I've told you we're going to do, keeping criminals in jail, I promise you that within 4 years, crime in Harris County will be decreased by 50%. And I just thank you. And the most important thing is I know you're all a praying audience, so I'd appreciate your prayers. And I'll finish with this quote from Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And claim this over everybody you know. not just for my election, but for all elections. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, God, and we know that he'll direct everybody's path to vote for the right candidates in every election. I just thank you for all this, and thank you, Malcolm. I appreciate it. God bless you, and I thank you, Arthur and Lewis. You've been a great impression for me. And thank you, David and Lane.
Two more. I'm going to start real quick. We're at the end of the show. Two more questions, one from me and one from Arthur. My question, I want you to talk to the listening audience about what we talked about off camera a couple weeks ago about recidivism, the guys that are coming home that deserve another chance.
Yes.
What do you plan on doing for them?
Well, number one is we already have chaplains in the jail, but I want to have a wider range of chaplains that can reach and I know Malcolm is a perfect example of that. I know he had a criminal history, but look at how successful he is now. There was a prison in Richmond called the Carol Vance Prison, where they had people that when they were getting ready to get out of jail, that they would volunteer to come there because they wanted a chance to change their lives. And they came in there and they ministered to them. And then the community can help us by giving people that have criminal histories that want to change. And it all comes through the love of Jesus Christ, by the way. Once they surrender their lives, but they need jobs when they come out. So that's my promise to you, the community.
Yeah, it's funny. My question was right alongside that. That's why I started pointing at you, Malcolm. It's like you always either know exactly where I'm going or you hit the nail on the head. Sherriff, quick question. Will you implement, and I know you kind of talked about it a little bit with what you just said, but the question with them was implementing moving forward. Would you not only implement working something in the jail, but would you reach out to the community as far as there's people who do second chance, all this other stuff? Because the person that's talking says, okay, I went to jail. I did 14 years in the penitentiary. When I got out of jail, nobody wanted to hire me. However, I did run into this police officer who knew a guy that needed help. Mm-hmm. And not only did this guy give me a chance, he took me under his wing, and now I own his business and I'm successful. Yes. What can the sheriff do to kind of help get other people in the community say, hey, let's take a chance, because we can end crime if we have other places to look? And I'm quoting here. Yes. So if you'd speak on that real quick.
Well, right down the street from where we're broadcasting today is a Dr. Gleam Car Wash. And the owner is Kevin Jenkins. He's a devout Christian. And he hires people with criminal records. And one of the guys elevated himself all the way up to taking over one of his car washes. So I know Kevin would do it, and there's other faith-based organizations. So I am intent. I didn't finish my thought about that Carol Vance. The recidivism rate was only 8% after they went to this prison because they volunteered to go and they wanted a different chance. And they had a faith-based organization that would give the guys jobs when they got out. So I'm committed to do it. I wish that I had an empty jail. That's what I wish. I wish that everybody that went there learned their lesson. And I'll bet you those people in El Salvador never went back after the way they were treated.
Probably not. So yeah, that was just a big thing. He kind of jumped in. He was like kind of hitting the same. I've got like the same text like 4 times, and I think that was the big deal. Was what he was saying is that the people that helped him change his life wore a uniform.
Yes.
And so he's kind of like, as sheriff, would you try to reach out to the community and say, hey, we're doing these things. Can you be a part of this?
Yes, I want to be a part of it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Excellent. Any other questions? Luis, you got any more?
I'm good, man. I just appreciate you being on here, man.
Well, I appreciate you also. Thank you.
Paul, anything else you'd like the citizens of Harris County to know? And by the way, guys, if you don't know if you're in Harris County goes as far as CYPRESS to the Kingwood area, and as far south as, help me out here, Dave. Clear Lake. Yes. I mean, Harris County is massive. So chances are, if you're in this listening audience, you're probably in Harris County.
Well, the last thing I'd like to say is I've already quoted scriptures, but faith without works is dead. So I'm asking all of you to go out with your faith, pray for this election, and then go out there and activate all your social media contacts. Everybody I'm talking to is worth hundreds of votes, and we need about 100,000 votes to win the primary. So I thank you for this opportunity, and God bless all of you.
And if you'd really like to contribute to Paul's campaign, just go to electpaulday.com. There's a donate button there. You can click on it, and $5, $10, $15, $25, small amounts, those all add up. That makes a big difference.
Yes.
Electpaulday.com.
Thank
That's
you.
PaulDay.com.
And it's good that he brings that up because I have a hard time asking anybody for anything. I'm a public servant and I want to serve you. I wish I had the money to give you, but we do need money to run a campaign. So we appreciate any contributions.
Well, that's what your campaign people are for, right?
Yeah,
They're
yes.
like, you kiss the babies, we'll ask for the hard part.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right, everybody, we're at the end. I wish we could talk a little bit longer, but we got to get out of here and we got to get home. I'm hungry. I'm starving. So we're going to get out of here. We want you to join us every Tuesday night to the Game On Sports Talk Show. Tonight, it's been all about Sheriff Hopeful, Paul Day. Go and give him a follow on Facebook, Instagram at Paul Day for Sheriff 2024. Go give him a follow. Go to his website. His website is on the screen right now. Go to his website. The primary is coming up very soon. Go to his page. Go to his page, his Facebook page. Find out more information about the upcoming election. He has to get through a primary first, which is on February 20th. And the actual election is on March 5th.
Yes.
So he has to get through the primary first. So it's 2 votes that'll had to be made on March.
Well, February 20th is early voting, and then
Early
it goes
voting.
up to March 5th, which is the actual election day.
Early voting. Early voting is in February,
Yeah.
and the actual election is on March 5th. So make sure y'all get out and make the vote if you want to see change in Harris County. And like the gentleman already said, Harris County is huge. We want this shared to all 4 corners of Harris County because this interview was important.
Yes.
A lot of great information. If you have any more concerns, any more questions, his information is on the screen. Go to his website, do your due diligence, do your own homework, email him, call him, email him, go to his website. It's all on the screen right now. Paul Day for Sheriff. Good night, everybody, from the Game On Sports Talk Show. We'll see y'all next Tuesday night from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock p.m. Small business owners, if you'd like to be on the show, all you got to do is text business to 346-779-5831. Thank you for all the likes, the shares, the comments, and the follows. Good night, everybody.
Don't forget,
Game
Game
On.
On, the only
Game On.
interactive sports show
Yes.
in America right now, other than McAfee. So he's on ESPN, so he don't count. Other than that, thank you again, Luis, Malcolm. It was a pleasure. I'm Arthur. Paul Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
You guys
much.
be safe. We'll see you next time.
Okay.